What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Black and Diagnosed. I'm your host, Jerron Scott. I just want to welcome you into the garden. The world is heavy, and we are constantly out here performing, trying to prove we got it all together. But right now, you can drop the act, take off the mask. If you're navigating mental health, holding it down for someone who is, or just out here trying to find your footing, you belong in this room. Let's find the words, name what hurts, and get our rhythm back. Pull up a seat and let's talk. Welcome back to Black and Diagnosed. I'm your host, Jerron Scott. Today we're here with Valerie. We're going to allow her to introduce herself.
Thank you for having me. My name is Dr. Valerie Daniel. I am a psychotherapist in private practice, and I work with primarily women of color, working in areas of transition and change in their lives.
So I understand you're a foodie. What is one place in the country that has the best food?
Oh, you're going to say one. If I have to pick one, then I would say it's got to be New York, because you can get anything you want from anywhere in the world in New York.
Interesting. I would have said New Orleans, but...
That's my number two.
Okay.
That's my number two.
I do think in New York you can get anything you want in the world, so I can respect number one, New York. So what is your favorite cuisine?
Gotta be Italian.
Okay, Italian. Favorite dish?
Probably a really good shrimp scampi.
Nice.
Yeah.
So are you one of those people who would rather cook a dish, or would you rather just go and buy it? Because, one day I decided I was going to make pad thai at home, and the ingredients costing like $40 to taste half as good as the store, where I could have spent $15 to $17, maybe $20 with a tip.
Yes.
And I was just like, they say cook at home, it'll be cheaper, it'll be less time consuming, all these things. And I was just like, never again.
Yeah.
Never again.
Here's what I will say. There are some things I don't mind cooking at home, but I am with you. When I don't feel like cooking, give me DoorDash or something, takeout, pick up, whatever, and I'm right there with you. I like a good pad thai, and although I can make it, I don't think mine is as good as what I get takeout, so I'm with you. I'd rather just go get takeout.
So I was in Atlanta recently, and
ATL. I got family in ATL.
Yes, I love Atlanta. It's like a second home for me. And I had Cambodian food for the first time.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely amazing. I forgot the name of the restaurant we went to. And we're just trying to figure out what the name was. I don't even remember the area it is in. But what is a slept-on cuisine to you? Something that people may not know about?
I would say a slept-on cuisine would be... I would say... This is going to sound a little strange, but I'm going to say a Lebanese cuisine. I happen to like Lebanese food, and I think it's a very much so slept-on cuisine here in the States. We've got pockets of Lebanese, communities here and there. But on a whole, you're not going anywhere and finding a good Lebanese restaurant.
Where I'm at in my part of the country in South Carolina, I'm going to look for a Lebanese restaurant. I doubt I will find one, but I will look, because now I'm interested.
Yes.
I never had Lebanese food, so now I'm going to try to find it, and I will report back for everyone.
Please do, because I think you would enjoy it. So yeah, if you like food the way it sounds like you do, absolutely, it would be something that would definitely excite your taste buds.
That's great. I think food is the commonality between everybody.
I agree.
Whenever I'm working with students, I always ask, what food do you like? Because if you can get anyone talking about food, that just opens them up, because everyone loves food. right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. As a college professor in social work, I would often do a bring in a dish from your, native cuisine because you're right. It helps folks to connect. Food is a common denominator. And it's also a doorway to open up conversation about, similarities and differences in and amongst cultures. So yeah.
Yeah, we can talk the whole hour about food, but we won't.
Yeah, we really could. We'll have to do another one on food.
So, where do you like to travel to?
Oh gosh, where don't I like to travel to? I've been not everywhere in the world that I would like to go, but almost everywhere in the world that I would like to go. I've been to Africa, I've been to Italy, I've been to Germany, I've been to France, I've been to all across Europe. Yeah, they're probably, if anything, where I probably need to travel more is in the middle of the United States. I haven't done a lot of traveling in the middle of the United States.
I've been to a few of the middle states. I used to live in Missouri. Very nice people in Missouri.
Okay, that's
I
good to
last
know.
I lasted 10 months, but very nice people in Missouri. 10 months was all I could do. But
I would imagine. Yeah, I would
but
imagine. Okay,
I will say
okay.
this, the people in Missouri were so kind. Like they were really, really kind people.
That is actually really good to know. Okay, okay. Yeah, middle of the states I haven't done, but I've been, West Coast, obviously up and down the East Coast, but yeah, middle of the country, probably not as much as I've been out of the country. I'm sure not as much as I've been out of the country. So,
You know, one day I keep telling myself I'm going to live in Los Angeles, but I'm such an East Coast guy. Like
yes, yes.
my family's on the East Coast. I love being able to travel down the East Coast,
Right,
get to
right.
places easier.
Yeah, and the West Coast is just a whole different vibe. It really is. It's a whole different vibe. So, yeah, I'm with you. I'm an East Coast kind of girl. So I'll go visit, but I'm coming back to the East Coast.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I don't know if I could do maybe 10 months on the West Coast. I could try and see if I
Mm,
like it. Maybe if I can
and
do 10 months in Missouri, I think I can do 10 months on the West
you know
Coast.
what? That's a very good point, though. You're right about that. If you could do 10 months in Missouri, you most certainly could do 10 months. Yeah, you could. You could. For me, as long as there's no, earthquakes, I'm with you. I could try for maybe 10 months. Definitely.
Earthquakes, fires,
Yeah, forgot about the
everything.
fires. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, my 10 months might shorten.
Yeah, you're
My
right.
yeah,
I have to rethink that now.
yeah, my 10 months might shorten at that rate. Maybe 6, maybe 4, maybe. I could do
S-
it.
All right, so let's open this up. So, can you
Oh,
explain what a psychotherapist is? And you
sure.
also said you work with women in transition. Can you explain what
Mhm.
that means?
Sure. So, a psychotherapist is a licensed professional, mental health professional that has, um, at for my field, at minimum, at least a master's degree in social work, and you've got your license, which is a state approved license. And you are able to provide counseling and therapeutic support to individuals, couples, families, children, etc. I have decided in my practice to work primarily with women, but I do couples work and I do work with males as well. So,
Awesome.
mhm.
My sister has her LCSW.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Well, yes,
She's
yes,
doing
yes.
her thing.
Tell a shout out from me, absolutely. So then she knows, and you may know just by some extension of knowing her, but yeah, we are licensed, trained professionals, and we use the techniques that we've learned to help folks manage mental health, behavioral health, interpersonal dynamics, dynamics between, external factors themselves and other people, family members, friends, work relationships, etc.
So yeah, transitions can look different from person to person. I'm sure as you experience that, they keep you on your toes.
Well,
So how are you able to balance the needs of your clients juggling all those transitions?
Well, for me, I look at it from a three-pronged approach. The micro level is the first, where we look at how do they what's the self-care? How do you take care of yourself? Um, what do you do that pours into you? And especially again, I work primarily with Black women, Latino women as well. It's We generally tend to be the backbones of our families, of our family units. And so I generally will start with, where's the time for you? You make time to get to the pharmacy for this one, to get to this for that one, but where's the time for you? And not oh, well, yeah, when I'm in the car, I get to listen to my music. That's not time for you. So it's starting with doing a self assessment of how do they take care of themselves? And if, as we're looking at that, realizing for most of us, fallen far short of the mark with myself as opposed to what I do with others, it's then starting to identify what are some of the things that we can do that start to even that out just a little bit for you. Because if you're, looking at starting a new job, you're looking at starting grad school, you've got some transitions that you're going through and you need to adapt. And ideally, if you can adapt healthily, everybody else around you will as well. So it starts from the inside for me at the micro level. And then we look at what's going on at that meso level. And for me, that's your tribe, that's your community. How do you need to work with them, inform them about, I'm about to make this major change. I'm about to go through this major transition. And, ideally, here's what I am going to be able to do. Here's what I'm not going to be able to do. Here's what I need you to do, from your kids to your partner to your, parents. What does this change look like? And for a lot of us, men and women, I hadn't even thought about it. I hadn't even looked at what that means. So sometimes it's even sitting down and just saying at that meso level, what is this going to look like? What does it mean? Does it change your commute? Does it change picking up your kids? What does it mean in terms of your life? And even in terms of work, what does it mean in terms of the new politics that you might be dealing with in this new position? All of those things, how are you now going to have to kind of sit back and reevaluate what you do? And if it's a bigger transition, it's a work transition, it's maybe you're ending a long-term relationship transition where it's really going to impact a lot of things, then it's also looking at what's going on in your environment. How is your environment either helping or not helping you in terms of going through this transition? And what do we need to change? What do we need to address in that environment in terms of ideally helping it to work with you better than what it may already be doing?
That's interesting. As you were saying that, I was reflecting on all the transitions I've made in my life. I was telling you earlier, from Rhode Island to Georgia to Missouri, then to North Carolina, then to Virginia, now to South Carolina. I've made a lot of professional transitions, and some of them went okay. Some of them went great. Some of them did not go well at all. Hence why I was in Missouri for 10 months and North Carolina for 18 months. Um, but you know, it just made me think about, specifically women of color, like you said, they are the backbones of their family. They are looked at as their support systems. So when you add on the layer of mental health, how do you help them take care of themselves?
Well, oftentimes, especially again, in our communities, Black and Latina, it, sometimes it starts with even just allowing them to come in and just tell their story. Oftentimes for us, when we are asked, how you doing? What's going on? Oh, I'm good. I'm fine. I'm blessed and highly favored. Whatever that, cover up term is that we use. When they find their way to me, it's, I don't know why I'm so tired. I don't know why, I don't, I'm not happy or however they describe it, but it's oftentimes not, I'm depressed or, I'm anxious or whatever that might be. And so we often start with one, giving them the opportunity to just have a space to tell their story. And then two, starting to give them the language to talk about what it is that they're actually dealing with. You know, once I do my assessment and, it sounds like you got some depression going on, or you got some levels of high anxiety. And it's, oh, I hadn't thought about it like that. And so it's often just giving them the space to even begin to realize maybe I'm dealing with a mental health issue. And it's not just, I'm the angry Black woman, or, all of those kind of tropes that we can put on ourselves. Maybe there really is something here that I need to look at, deal with. And then once we get there, it's okay, if that's what we're dealing with. Again, how do we start looking at from the inside out? What do you have to do to manage whatever it is, whatever the diagnosis is? And whether it's, for many of us, especially as women, it's, the overperforming, the perfectionism that we can hide behind, in terms of not necessarily associating that it may be some mental health issues going on in the background for us. It's processing what are those roles that you've been playing in your life and why. And as you're going through acknowledging and accepting whatever this new diagnosis is that you may have to learn to live with, what can you comfortably let go of that gives you a little more wiggle room in there to live more comfortably in the skin that you're in now? We still grieve the past, I was the perfectionist. That's fine, because you're going to grieve it. But it's what can you look at in this new space that might give you opportunity, that might give you the chance to grow and be able to say, perfectionism was one thing, but being in this space, I'm not as hard on myself. I have more free. What are the things that this opens up for you to embrace while we acknowledge what you are letting go of? Yeah, your house may not be spotless, but you're also getting 8 hours of sleep every night because you're not burning the, candle on both ends, because you got to be perfect at work and you got to come home, you got to clean your house, you got to make sure it's perfect. It's where do we find those things that you're like, you know what? Yeah, I haven't slept 8 hours in 4 years. Yeah. So it's finding what are the positives in there for them and then creating the boundary so that you can maintain it. What does it mean to protect your peace? What does it mean to protect your mental health? Now that you know that you've got challenges, what does it mean to protect it? Because now that I know, I don't want to have it intrude on my life any more than it has to. And that likely means I'm going to have to make some changes, and that means some boundaries. So we deal with what does that look like? Because, I always come when my sister calls because, she's the baby and well, that may be fair, but if that baby is 35 years old, maybe you need to let the baby grow up, because that's going to give you a little more time to actually live your life and not be so stressed. So it's helping them to walk through all of those things. And also, for me, one of the things working with women of color and helping them to understand this connection between your mental health, your well-being, and your longevity and vitality in life is, I will ask them, do you have high blood pressure? Do you have high cholesterol? Because if you come in with some of those things already going on, diabetes, etc., I'm pretty sure that all the weight you've got on your shoulders, we need to get rid of some of that. Because if we can get rid of some of that diabetes, that high cholesterol, that high blood pressure, it's not going to be quite as bad, because then you have more mental and emotional space to take care of you. There is a direct connection. And so I try my best to work with them to make sure that, again, one, a diagnosis doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. And two, if you can learn to manage it, you can live with it and be okay. Just like someone that's living with any other long-term chronic illness, you learn how to manage it, learn what the triggers are, learn what you need to do to be a healthier version of you. Yeah, you can manage it.
Yeah, I know. I'm thinking of some of the Black women in my family who just always have to be there. They always have to be on. If something goes wrong, they're the first person who have to show up.
Yep.
And I wish they didn't have to, but it's almost become everybody expects them to.
Mhm.
And it's unfortunate because I was thinking like, shit, I expect them to.
Yes.
And I didn't even realize that until this moment. And now I'm sitting here like, wow, like I truly expect, yeah, I know the few people who when I'm in the gym who I call,
Right.
right? And they're two women in my family,
Right.
right?
Right.
And it never really hit me to just this moment. So that's interesting that you put it that way. And I do think those boundaries need to be in place, but also on our end, we need to learn how to respect those boundaries and say, you know what, I recognize that they have a lot going on, and I'm going to respect those boundaries and help define. I'm going to put boundaries on our end to ease their burden as well. So I love the way you put that, but you also talked about space and language,
Mhm.
giving Black women and women of color the space and opportunity to sit with themselves, to learn about what's going on, how their bodies are responding, how their mental health is responding to challenges that they face, and also naming the language because historically, a lot of Black women, specifically Black women who are older than I am, haven't had a chance to learn the language. Black women who are in the younger millennials and younger, they understand, what depression is, what anxiety is. They have the opportunity to learn a little more. But women are from older generations, they just haven't had the opportunity. They wasn't allowed to be depressed. They were forced to raise forced to be moms at a younger age, not literal moms, but that emotional moms to their younger siblings, that physical moms that they had to take on the labor of adults at a young age. So they didn't have time to understand what they were dealing with was depression, anxiety, all these things. So I love that you put they needed space and language. So what are some ways that now that we have space and language, what are the next steps?
Once you have space and language, because I appreciate what you said, it's then being able to, again, for me, going back to your community, your tribe, and being able to start to reclaim some of those boundaries. Because as wonderfully as you said it, not everybody in your community is going to be okay with that because you are my go-to person. You are the one I call when I need something. You are the one that, is always Johnny on the spot for me. And so it's helping women to have the language and the space, one with me, but then to be able to ideally have those conversations with their tribe and be prepared for the pushback because there will be people in your community that are not going to like that you're opting not to always be the person that you depend on to be there for you. And not because I don't love you, not because I don't want to, but because as you said, I do have other things going on in my life as well. And sometimes I'm just fucking tired. And I don't have the emotional energy bandwidth, whatever, to be there for you in the midst of whatever that might be. So it's working on them being able to have the language and the bandwidth and start to create the boundaries, not only with you as part of that community, but with themselves. Because I'm just as guilty of it, of being that she's always there. She's the one. She always shows up. Because that's just what we're socialized to do. And so sitting with women when they have to learn to sit in the uncomfortableness of that change It felt weird when my girlfriend called and she was having a rough day. And I was like, well, girl, I hear you, but I'm really tired. I'm going to stay home. Yeah, I know it felt weird. That's okay. Let's sit in that. Let's talk about why that felt weird. Why was that uncomfortable for you? What was coming up for you? So again, it starts to give them the language, and it's usually, oh, I felt guilty. I'm not a good friend. All of those things. I'm not a good mom. I'm not a good sister. Whatever comes up, and it's helping them to reframe that then in that space. Taking time for yourself doesn't mean you're not a good whatever those things are. Prioritizing your need for rest because you just worked a 12-hour double doesn't mean that you're not a good friend. It's helping them to sit in the awkwardness of what change is in those transitions and being able to know that, again, taking that time and that space for you, although you may get pushback, doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means that people don't like that you are not opting to be a central figure in their life. That's okay. Not everybody's going to like everything that you do. That's just the reality of it. And so it's getting them to sit with that. Again, knowing it's not everybody's going to be, rah, rah, good for you, girl. I'm so proud of you for finding space, doing what you need to do for you. Not everybody's going to give you that. And you got to be okay with that. And if you can work through that, yeah, the joy of what's on the other side of that push is a life that feels more authentic.
That's good. I think finding our authentic selves, it takes a lot of hard work and some deep work. And honestly, it's scary finding your authentic self.
Yes.
You're gonna cry. If you
Yes.
To me, I cried a lot when I was finding my authentic self because you are shedding
Yes.
your skin.
Yes.
Like you are shedding layers of who you thought you were, and you're letting go of people, of ideas. You're really letting go. To me, I had to let go of the idea of what people thought I was, and
Yes.
what people thought, and who people thought I
Yep.
was, because it got to the point where you start to become who people think you are. Oh, that's Jerron. He's this, he's that. So you start to embody those characteristics because people expect you to do that.
Right.
And I'm sure for women of color, Black women specifically, when they have that overachiever, that perfectionism, that always have to be their mentality, they embody that. So if you have someone who's dealing with anxiety, depression, bipolarism, anything else, another mental health diagnosis, they push that to the side.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. That's interesting that you point that out. So every transition requires us to leave a version of ourselves behind, right?
Right.
So for a woman managing their diagnosis, anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, PTSD, whatever it is, so the former self may have to be left behind. How do you help? How do you help her grieve the version of herself that was left behind, and love the version that survived?
Well, you have to do, in my opinion, you have to do both at the same time. You have to acknowledge, again, the grief, because what's in there, the perfectionism, the over performing, whatever it may be, they're coping strategies. The coping strategies for dealing with the anxiety, the depression, the ADHD, but whatever it is, they're coping mechanisms. That's how you've learned to deal with all that was going on. So we give thanks for what they have helped you to be able to do. And we grieve the loss of, I'm going to learn some new ways to do this that hopefully are not so detrimental to me. Because often what we do is, well, the outcome was great. If I'm a perfectionist, my job is fantastic. I'm on top of things. I'm getting raises and I'm doing all these wonderful things. That's great. But what is the toll that it's taking on you? And so it's kind of turning that mirror back and being able to say, again, those coping strategies, they may have gotten you from point A to point B, and that's great. Some of them worked, some of them didn't work. We're going to acknowledge what did work and how it worked, and we're going to grieve the fact that you're going to leave some of those behind. because they're no longer serving you in a way that's going to work for this new version of you that you're creating. Because to me, that's what the work is. It's shedding those layers, as you said. And yes, there are tears. In my work, as I say, tears are a good thing. It's shedding those tears so that you can create something new. And so there should be a bit of grieving, because there is a loss. For no matter how good or bad that was, there is a loss. There's also a way to lean into the opportunity of what's to come. And that's the new coping skills, the new strategies, the new boundaries, the new way you see yourself, and what that does to how your outlook on life, your outlook on relationships, your outlook on everything that you interact with changes.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's dope. I I relate to that. You know, I'm one of those people where I'm a laid back person, but I'm really a perfectionist at heart, which is weird because people see me, he's so laid back, he's so chill. While on the inside, I'm this raging perfectionist who has to get everything right. Where and I don't know where that person came from. And because in school, I was just like, I'm just gonna do whatever. I know I'm smart, so I can most time I studied hard. I did what I needed to do, but for the most part, I just showed up. Like I worked hard, but I wasn't a perfectionist by any means. But then once I started my PhD program, that perfectionism started to kick in, where I'm like, okay, I can get an A. Oh wow, I can do well. Then now I'm like, stuff has to be perfect, which is crazy because growing up, they would never, I don't think anyone will ever call me perfectionist, even to this day. Like, I don't, even my closest friends will probably never call me perfectionist, but I'm a perfectionist disguised as a very laid back person right now. So I can relate to that. You know, I chase that perfectionism, and I've been trying to figure out why I chase that perfectionism. And I haven't figured it out yet. You know, I break down my life into from pre-medication and post-medication.
Fair.
Post-medication me is where the perfectionism came from.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's because I can see life clearer now and I have more well defined picture of who I am and what I want my life to be. So maybe I feel like I'm playing catch up or something. Maybe that's what it is. But I'm this perfectionist, so I relate to that so much. I don't even remember my point, to be honest with you. So we're going to be on this podcast. People are going to be like, "What was this part?" I don't remember. Um,
Well,
but
what I can tell you is, not knowing your background like that, but oftentimes for those of us that deal with a bit of perfectionism, it's also a way for us to try to control things. You know, if we can control things by making sure everything is just so, it's a way of kind of, all is right in the world. Okay. So it gives a little bit of that. So you can have both. You can have both living inside of you at the same time. So it's okay. You can be chill on the surface, but an undercover, yeah, it's all right.
that makes me feel better.
Yes, it's okay.
You heard that, folks? I can be laid back on the surface, but an internal raging
Yes, you
perfectionist
can
on
be.
the
Yes, you
inside.
can be. Yes, you can be. It's okay.
So oftentimes there's this space between that laid back perfectionism and that transition for Black women,
Mm,
right? They're going from A to B. They or reverse, they're being perfectionist to more laid back,
mhm,
right? They're saying like, hey, you've been this your whole life, now let's become that.
mhm.
But oftentimes that comes at a cost.
Yes.
How do you help negotiate that cost?
Well, negotiating that cost for me is about helping that woman to identify what are the values in life that are important for her at this moment. And oftentimes these transitions, especially if they're not kind of prompted by maybe a work related situation, are prompted by personal things. And so it's about what are those values that are really relevant for you now? Because we can all say, well, when I was 16, when I was 20, when I was this, but what's relevant now? And so working with women that are often in high powered positions and having to make really um, challenging decisions that are going to impact their personal life, family, etc. It's let's examine what your values are, what's important for you, and let's try to have you make your decisions about how you make your next moves from there, as opposed to what you should do, or what you know the what the industry says, what the market says, what your boss says. Make it from a values-based perspective and what's important for you. You know, if there are things going on in your personal life that mean taking that C-suite position, although it would be great, it is going to impact family, personal life, then you need to make a decision based from that, as opposed to, well, the trajectory says this is what I'm supposed to do. I get that. And that's fair and that's fine. And the money and all of those wonderful things. But if the value system for you right now is, I'm in that sandwich generation where I've got little kids and I'm taking care of my aging parents. And although that job would be great, but it means more stress because I'm not going to be home and I'm going to have to navigate who's going to take care of my parents and then we've got to make a decision that's not just about that professional trajectory of going up and maybe reaching that next glass ceiling. It may be more about how do I redo this, reframe this so that I can still prioritize what's really important to me. So maybe it's coming out of corporate America and going into consulting work because I have more of a balance. You know, it's looking at what are those pivots that you can make in the midst of there that honor your values and still ideally, if it's in the professional world, give you what you want. But it's helping you to make sure you know what your values are, because oftentimes we are not really good at identifying them, or they're old. You know, it's well, my parents always did, or well, that's fine and great, but what do you believe? You know, what do you think? And so just having someone have that moment of self-reflection with, well, yeah, I actually do value getting married, having kids, whatever that is, then let's have you start moving from that place as opposed to I'm all about getting whatever, again, maybe the next promotion is or the next whatever, because if you really want this, then maybe we have to, as much as I hate to say that for women, because we're the only ones that are asked, what's that work-life balance like? Men don't get asked that question. But since it's the world that we live in, yeah, what's the values for you based on wherever you are in your life? And it may change. You know, that's okay. You can say at this point in my life, I was very professionally driven and wanted to do that. And now, for a lot of women, I'm, coming into my mid 30s and I realize I want to have kids. Okay, so what does that mean? Because it means to me, your values have shifted. I'm no longer chasing the professional track. I want to look what's over here. And that's fine. But how do you do that pivot so that you feel okay, you can sustain yourself, and you can still ideally, again, for women, unfortunately, because we've got to, you can find the best work-life balance that you can.
I feel like you are reading me to death right now today. Wow, because I'm in that stage where I am trying to figure out my values right now. Negotiating where I want to live, where I want to be in
Yep.
life, all those things while chasing my professional goals have been difficult.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
I moved to South Carolina for the job title.
Okay.
Like just full transparency.
Mm-hmm.
I did what I had to do. I needed the title to get to
I hear you.
get to the next
Yep.
level. And I was fully aware of that. I
Yep.
think anybody who knows me knows why I moved. Um, full transparency. But my next goals don't require the title to get
Uh-huh.
you right.
Uh-huh.
My next goals are personal goals; they're not professional,
Uh-huh.
but they do require specific locations, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So now it's like, how do I take this title and get to the location I want without taking a step back? And that has proven to be very difficult.
Fair.
So it's hard to do that. Then when I add on the layer of like the mental health diagnosis and trying to negotiate through that minefield, it just makes it extremely difficult because
Yes.
I'm just like, I got to take care of my mental
Yep.
health. I have, my personal life, my professional life. I have to balance all these things.
Yes.
So, how do you help Black women balance that while finding that work life balance? And once they find that work life balance, how do you help that radical self discovery?
Well, usually the radical self-discovery is in the work of trying to figure out what the work-life balance is. Um, Whether it's realizing, current job maybe doesn't work for what work-life balance needs to be, wants to be, whether it's location, doesn't work for work-life balance for whatever that may be. It's challenging the person one to really, again, kind of explore what are those values. And then once you do make some decisions or you have some ideas about what that's going to look like, one of the questions that we use in therapy is called the miracle question. And it's, if you could wake up tomorrow and everything would be wonderful, perfect in your life, what would that look like? And that often for me as a therapist gives me the jumping point for how do we get from where we are to where you want to be? Because if that's your ideal day, that's your ideal life. Okay, what needs to change for where you are now to get to there? Is it going to be hard? Hell yeah. Are you going to make some sacrifices? Are you going to lose some folks along the way? Probably. But if that's what makes my heart sing space, that's where you should be going because that's what makes your heart sing. And so helping them to parse through, again, what makes your heart sing, what makes you happy. And if the current job, if the current location isn't it, then let's explore what the other options are. I would say for you, again, just because I've heard that too, let's reframe that going where you want to go, as you said, that other job or position may be a step back. Maybe it's not a step back. It's a lateral move that then takes you to the macro picture of what's your higher long range goal. I'm going to pivot to the left for 1 minute so that I can eventually come back and get to where I want to be. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a setback. Doesn't have to be, especially if from there you can still see the path to where you want to go. And if you can, doesn't mean it's a setback necessarily. If there are financial issues in terms of, well, financially it would be, okay, fair. Can you compensate for those in whatever ways that looks like? And that would be, again, looking at your math and the numbers and all those things. But it's really exploring if this is what you're thinking in terms of, well, I know where I want to go, but in order to do it, I may have to take a step back. If we can reframe it again from it's not a step back, it may be a pivot to the left or a pivot to the right. And if you go into it knowing this is temporary, I'm not saying this position forever. Oh no, I got about 5 minutes be and then I'm out. Because the game plan is bigger and better after this. But I need this to get to the location or I need this to get to the next title. Fine. It's going in and knowing what that attitude is and staying the course. my thing when folks say that to me, I tell them at the beginning, I'm going to be checking in every, so we still on the same path. You're still planning on this is just, leap pad. You're going to use this to jump off and go to wherever you're going to go. If you change your mind and say, you know what, I actually kind of like it here. Maybe I'm going to stay. Okay. Then how do we get from here to that miracle question answer that you gave me? Because this took us off the path a little bit. We said we were coming back on it. So tell me what you're seeing. If the path has changed, that's fine too. Let's just make sure you got a game plan that works for you, no matter what. Because that step back, pivot, could actually lead you to something bigger and better than what you ever thought. And that's what we don't often think about. We always imagine and worry about the worst. But what if that step back, that pivot, winds up leading you to something actually amazing and wonderful and greater than what you could have possibly imagined?
Definitely. So let's talk about that transition a little more. So transitions are naturally like hurricanes.
Yes.
They're just wild.
Yes.
So someone with like ADHD, depression, bipolar, like that transition can be like a category 5 hurricane. It could be disastrous. So how do you teach your clients to distinguish between that normal stress of life change and maybe a symptom flare up? How do they protect themselves when the external world is in a state of like flux or turmoil?
Well, one, the assumption with what you're asking is that they ideally have done some work already on kind of knowing themselves and what they're dealing with, whether it's ADHD, bipolar disorder, whatever the case may be. And provided that has happened, then what you want to make sure that they're really aware of is what's baseline look like for me. What's baseline on a good day, what's baseline on a bad day with whatever I'm dealing with, ADHD, bipolar, whatever it is, anxiety, whatever it is, what's baseline look like? Because then once you know what your base is, then you can deal with knowing, oh, I'm feeling a little whatever it might be. This might be the beginning of a flare-up. This might be the beginning of, something is not so right. But you got to know what your baseline is, because then you can understand what triggers those off days when you're in the middle of chaos, when you're in the middle of transition. If you know, for instance, that change really impacts your gut, then part of what the strategy is, because your baseline is as long as you're doing okay, your gut's good. Something's off, your gut is, you've got bubble guts, whatever it is that you have going on. Just say it. So then if you know you're getting ready to go through a major transition, let's say a professional one, then in my job or my role in your life is to say, now that we know what the triggers are, let's plan the interventions. Because this transition is about to be cray-cray. Let's plan the interventions. So if it's a gut issue for you, let's make sure that you've meal prepped in advance. Let's make sure that you've got appropriate snacks at work, because you're not going to be able to eat full meals because you get bubble guts and you can't eat all the time. But if we can make sure that you give little bits of food, you're still sustaining yourself throughout the day, because when your glucose levels drop, you're not thinking and you're irritable and you're miserable. Again, that kind of gut, mind, body connection. So my thing is planning the interventions. How do we set you up to have the interventions in place for when chaos comes? Because as long as you live in life, chaos is coming. Chaos is coming. So one, it's not to be surprised that chaos comes. Two is to make sure that you got, your to-go kit ready. And that's what are all your interventions from the external environment to the internal. Do I need to be working out more? Do I need to be meditating more? What are the things that I know that work for me that keep me grounded when life is chaotic, so that when flare-ups come, I'm not like, oh shit, I don't know what to do. And, I might spiral initially until I realize, oh, this is a flare-up, this is a whatever. But I got this bag of resources and tools and strategies that I can use that can help me navigate. So for me, it's planning the interventions. And then on the back end, once crazy chaos transition, whatever is over, it's celebrating that you made it through. Because that to me is the other part. When you go through transitions, it's celebrating that you made it through. Because as Black folks, people of color, transitions, whether we want them or not, are always hard. They're always hard. And I mean, they're hard for anybody. So I don't want to say they're just hard for us, but they're always hard. And we often have to go into automatic pilot to get through them. Again, those coping mechanisms. So on the back end, when you do have 5 minutes, if you're working with a therapist and they can give you that, it's done, it's over, where you at, how you doing, have that moment to celebrate. I made it through. My pants might be on fire, but I made it through. Whatever it is, I made it through. Because as long as you get to the other side, you made it through. And more than likely, you've learned a hell of a lot about yourself in the midst of the process. That's a win. That's a win.
I think we need to celebrate Black women more often.
I would agree with that.
I think so. I just think Black women are absolutely amazing.
I would agree with that. Absolutely. Every day, all day, and 10 times on Sunday. Yes.
Top tier. Yes. Top tier. One of one.
Yes.
Top two and not number two.
Yes.
As I think that's Beyonce. Maybe Beehive. Don't come for me if that's not Beyonce.
Yes. I'm with you because I'm right there with you on that one. So yes.
How do you help them celebrate that win, that victory?
That is different for every woman. And so what I try to do with each person is, how would I say that? I try to work with them on what's something that's uniquely them. And we make that the celebration. So I had one woman where her celebration for getting through a transition was treating herself to going horseback riding. Because it was something she'd always wanted to do, hadn't done since she was a kid. And let's find a fucking place for you to go get on a horse and go horseback riding and celebrate whatever it is. So it's usually helping them to identify something that, if I'm being honest, is usually something from their past, like before they were the big professional whomever. I used to always love to go and, get a blah, 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 blah from, well, then let's fucking do that. So it's helping them to figure out something that makes the 10-year-old in them smile. And if I can help them to figure that out, then that's the celebration. That's the celebration. And for some women, it is, I got my girlfriend to watch the kids and I ordered in some food and took a luxurious bath and sat in the bed and watched Netflix and fell asleep. Because I don't get that luxury of having a whole evening or a whole night to myself. Okay. For some women, it's going and treating yourself to a restaurant that you really wanted to go to and treating yourself to a nice meal by yourself. Or if you want to go with other folks, that's fine too. But celebrating you. And even that sometimes in itself is a part of the celebration. Did you tell anybody in your life, this great thing that happened? Oh, well, yeah, girl, they got all this going on. No, y'all better go out this weekend and turn it up. And it's even just getting that because, again, they got their own stuff going on. True. But we all love to get together and celebrate for a good time. So call your girls, call your boys. Hey, I just got a promotion or I just did a da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Celebrate. If nobody else celebrates you, you need to be able to. God said that you are fiercely and awesomely made. You are worthy of celebrating, especially when something good happens in your life. So just, oh, well, yeah, it's no big deal. Yeah, it is a big deal. It is a big deal. So I try to model that. I think I try to be the biggest, best cheerleader I can be. And I do my little happy dance in the session and all that good stuff because I'm so excited for it, and encourage that. Let's figure out what you're going to do. And then I generally, if there's someone that I know has a really hard time with it, I will press them on a deadline. So, you know, in a month, you've got to figure out what you're going to do to celebrate this big win of whatever it is. Because I don't want them to forget about themselves. And life quickly can make us forget about ourselves. You know, the kids, the dog, the cat, the da 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 da. No, this is still worthy of you being celebrated and not to be forgotten. So yeah, whatever I can come up with. Sometimes it can be something off the wall. I've had somebody that went in to what are those romper rooms or whatever it is. She went to one of those. So whatever I can find, like I said, for me, I'm generally looking at what makes that 10-year-old, that 12-year-old in them smile. If I can get that, then that's what we're celebrating with.
Okay. That is amazing. This has been a heartwarming conversation. I appreciate this.
Absolutely.
My final question for you is, what is your favorite 90s show?
Oh gosh. My favorite 90s show. See, I'm about to age myself here. My favorite 90s show. I've got a couple. Which one would I go with? I think I would go with probably, yeah, I'm a foodie. I'd go with Good Eats. Do you know
Good
that show?
Eats? No, I don't know that show.
It's a show. It used to be on Food Network, I think it was. And it was I'm a little bit of a nerd as well. So it was this guy, white guy, who broke down like the science behind food, and making things and how they could all come together. And I absolutely love that show. I would watch it every single weekend. So I would have to say Goodies was probably, for the 90s, probably one of my favorite shows. So yeah. How about for you? Let me ask, because you asked me. How about for you?
Let's see. Living Single for me.
Yeah, that one was up there too, definitely. But yeah, Good Eats again. I'm a foodie, so but I both. I could go with that one as well too. So
Yeah.
all right, fair.
So now's the time where I'm going to turn the mic over to you to ask me any questions.
Well, I just asked you one. What was yours? So I will ask you, what brought you into doing this podcast?
I just noticed a lack of representation, right? When I was doing my dissertation, there was no research on Black men with bipolar disorder.
Mhm.
I found zero research.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I'm talking about from zero
Yep.
research around the world.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I was the first. And I realized that there's almost zero research on Black people with mental health disorders, period. And if it is, it's usually from a deficit lens. And I want that to change. I want the conversation to change. And it's changing slowly. There is research that's building.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to say that there's progress being made.
Mm-hmm.
But that's research.
Yes.
Right? It's not a normal conversation. I want to normalize those conversations. I don't want someone have to say, oh, I need to go read a scientific article to understand how Black people have a disorder.
Right.
I want to be able to someone to say, hey, I could listen to a normal conversation to understand Black people with mental health disorders.
Yes. Well, you were definitely right. So yeah, the research on us is woefully inadequate when it comes to mental health disorders, especially on Black men. And wherever there is some, whether it's Black men or women, yeah, it is definitely written from a deficit perspective. I'm right there with you. Doing my doctorate research found the exact same thing. And so, yeah, I'm really happy that you're doing this. So thank you for inviting me, number one. And two, keep up the good work, because we do need more male Black male voices in this space. So I thank you for that. So, do I get to ask another question?
Ask as many as you want.
Oh, thank you. Okay. So I see all of those. Are those certificates on your wall back there? Or are they
Yeah,
artwork?
those are plaques from different stages in my life.
Ah, okay. Okay. So then I want to ask, what's that other in the corner in your top? What is that left corner? That looks like a piece of artwork. Oh, sorry,
Um,
right corner. Sorry, over your right shoulder. Sorry. I said left. I meant right. Other shoulder.
the
Yep,
shoulder.
that shoulder.
That is some fraternity stuff. A friend of the fraternity, she made this artwork and gave it to the art frat house, and I kind of just took it from someone.
Gotcha. Okay.
It didn't belong to me, but I took it.
I'd been staring at it the whole time, so I was just wondering what it was. So, okay. All right. So then my next question is, in terms of your career, because you mentioned it, where are you thinking your next move is going to be? I'm just curious now because it sounds like you're on the cusp of a transition.
I would love to be in Atlanta full time.
Okay.
So that's the goal.
Okay. All right. Well, if you would love to be in Atlanta full time, then whatever you need to do to make it happen, make it happen.
Yeah, that's definitely the plan.
Yeah, make it happen. You can do anything you set your mind to. So if that's where your heart sings and that's where you know you want to be, yeah, make it happen. That was my last question.
Perfect. Thank you, Valerie.
You're
I
very
definitely
welcome.
appreciate you. This was a heartwarming conversation.
Same.
I'm filled with my heart is just full. You dropped so many gems. I cannot wait for people to hear this. It's been great. Thank you so much.
You're so very welcome. Thank you for having me. I really, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for putting a spotlight on Black mental health, on Black men's health, on Black women's health. So thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for tending to the garden with me today. Seriously, just remember, stability isn't a straight line. It's a rhythm. Just because the music slows down for a second, it doesn't mean the song is over. Give yourself some radical grace this week. If this conversation brought a little bit of light into your space, do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening. Share this with someone who needs it, and come lock in with us on Instagram at Black and Diagnosed. I'm always looking to build connections, so if you want to jump on a guest spot, I have a collaboration in mind, hit my email at info@jeronscott.com. Let's build. Till next time, take care of yourself.